Welcome to The Explainer. So, you've been programming for a little while, and you're probably pretty comfortable with functions, right? But what if I told you there's a way to kind of supercharge them, to make your code way more organized and a whole lot more powerful? Today, we're going to bridge the gap between functions and something called methods. You'll see how just a small shift in how you think can make a massive difference.
Okay, right off the bat, just look at these two ways of doing the same thing. On the left, you've got your data over here and a function that uses it over there. They're separate. But on the right, the data and the action are bundled up together nice and neat. Which one just looks easier to manage? That gut feeling you have? That's exactly what we're going to dive into.
All right, let's start on familiar ground. This is probably how you're used to writing code. You have your data, maybe a dictionary with a ducks info, and then you have your functions that do stuff with that data. They live in different places, it's simple, it gets the job done, but, well, as you're about to see, it has some serious limitations once your programs get bigger.
And look, this totally works. You have a dictionary for your duck data, and you have this describe function that you can pass the duck into. But think about it for a second. There's nothing stopping you from accidentally passing a dictionary that describes, I don't know, a car into that describe function. The function and the data aren't really connected, and in big projects, that's how bugs start to creep in.
So how do we fix that? Well, let me introduce you to a really powerful idea, the class. The best way to think about a class is not as the thing itself, but as a blueprint. It's a template for creating things, and we're going to call those things objects.
Now, every good blueprint needs some setup instructions, right? In Python, that's this special __init method. You can think of it as the initializer. Whenever we use our duck blueprint to make a brand new duck, this init part runs automatically to set up its starting properties. It's kind of like a factory assembly line. Every single duck that rolls off this line is guaranteed to have a color, a sound, and something it likes. No exceptions.
But here's where it gets really interesting. These blueprints don't just hold data. We can also build the actions an object can perform right into the blueprint itself. And these built-in actions, we call them methods.
Check this out. We've written a function called intro, but it's inside our duck class. And this is the absolute key idea for today. A function that lives inside a class is called a method. It's no longer just some random function floating around. It's now a built-in ability of every single duck we create from this blueprint.
So you're probably looking at that word self and going, what is that? Well, self is the magic ingredient. Imagine you have 10 different ducks, and you tell just one of them to introduce itself. How does it know to talk about its own color and not some other duck's color? That's what self does. It's how an object refers to, well, itself. It's the object's way of saying me or I.
And this is where it all clicks together. First, we use our duck blueprint to create a specific duck object. This one's yellow, it quacks, and it loves bathtubs. Then, with that little dot, we're literally telling that one specific duck, hey, you, run your intro method. And because of self, it knows to use its own unique data to do it.
The real fun begins when you realize you're not stuck with just one action. We can pack as many methods as we want into our blueprint, giving our ducks a whole toolkit of abilities. So let's add a few more.
Okay, let's add a make sound method. See how simple it is? It just reaches into self and grabs the sound for that specific duck. So if we have our yellow duck that quacks, and maybe we make a new blue robot duck that beeps, they both have the make sound ability. But when you call it on each one, you get a totally different result. And that right there is a huge idea in programming. Same action, different outcomes, depending on the object.
Now, this is really cool. Methods can do more than just read data, they can actually change it. Take a look at this paint_duck method. It takes in a new color and then updates the duck's own color property. This means our objects aren't just static little bundles of information. They're alive. They're dynamic. Their own built-in actions can change their state over time. That's a massive step up from what we were doing before.
You might be thinking, okay, ducks are cool, but does this work for other stuff? Absolutely. This idea works for anything you can imagine. To prove it, let's just totally switch gears and make a new blueprint for a game player. Just like our duck, we use the init method to set up its starting stats. Every player gets a name, and every player starts at level 1.
And of course, let's give our player some skills. First, a show stats method. Pretty simple, it just prints out the player's name and their current level. But then, look at this, a level up method. Just like paint duck, this method actually changes the object's own data. It reaches into self and bumps the level up by 1. The action of leveling up is now baked right into the player itself. It just makes sense.
Okay, so we've seen a couple of examples now. Let's zoom out and get back to the big question. Why are we doing all this? Why is writing player.levelup so much better than having a separate function like levelup_player, player data?
So here's the bottom line. When you use methods, you are literally bundling an object's data and its behaviors together in one neat package. This automatically makes your code cleaner and so much easier to understand. When you look at that game player class, you know exactly what a player is and what it can do. It keeps all the related logic in one place, which helps stop silly bugs. You're not going to accidentally try to make a player quack. And it makes your code incredibly reusable. You can stamp out 1,000 players, and they all just work.
And that brings us to one last big idea to think about. We've seen how powerful a single blueprint can be, but what if you could build a blueprint based on another blueprint? What if you could make a super player class that gets all the abilities of a normal game player and then add some new ones on top? Well, that's a story for another time.